This is a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, and a couple of days ago, another tragic crash happened. This massive plane is designed for long-haul flights, connecting continents, and it has a record of no full loss in last 12 to 15 years. But despite all this incredible tech, these planes, especially those from Boeing, keep making headlines for all the wrong reasons.
Plane crash in India.
189 people were aboard the Boeing 737 MAX 8.
And it makes you wonder, what in the world is going on? For years, Boeing was the gold standard. If it's Boeing, I'm going. That was the saying, right? But lately it feels like that the trust has been shaken, maybe even shattered. We have seen door plunks flying off mid-flight, tires falling off during takeoff, and even a plane that was supposed to be a lifeline for astronauts turning into a space-stranded nightmare. So what happened to the company that built the crafts that took us to the moon? Why does it feel like Boeing is constantly in a tailspin? Let's rewind a bit, because to understand where Boeing is today, we gotta look at its past. Many folks in the aviation world point to one pivotal moment: the 1997 merger with McDonnell Douglas. Now, McDonnell Douglas was a company with a different philosophy. Where Boeing was an engineer's company focused on meticulous design and safety, McDonnell Douglas was known for its aggressive, profit-driven culture. When these two companies merged, many argued that the McDonnell Douglas way of doing business started to take over. It was not an overnight thing, but slowly, surely, the focus shifted from engineering excellence to shareholder value. And when you start cutting corners to save a buck, especially in aviation, well, that's when things can go seriously wrong. We saw the devastating consequences of this shift with the 737 MAX crashes. Remember Lion Air Flight 610 in 2018 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 in 2019? Two brand new planes, 346 lives lost, all within 5 months. It was horrific. The culprit? A new flight control system called MCAS, or Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System. This system was designed to push the plane's nose down if it detects a stall, but it was getting faulty data, forcing the nose down repeatedly, and pilots were not even properly trained on it. It was a software fix for a hardware problem, a quick patch instead of a proper redesign. And that, my friends, is a classic example of what happens when profit takes precedence over people. Now, you might be thinking, are Boeing planes the only ones crashing? And that's a fair question. If you look at the last 100 years, excluding war-related incidents, and compare manufacturers, it's a complex picture. Boeing has produced a massive number of aircraft, so naturally they will have more incidents in raw number. However, recent events have put their safety records under intense scrutiny. While Airbus, their main competitor, had also had incidents, the recent string of high-profile, seemingly preventable issues with Boeing has really hit the public confidence. It's not just about the number of crashes, it's about the why behind them. It's about the perception that corners are being cut, and that's a tough pill for anyone to swallow when their life is on the line. So why do some people hate Boeing now? It's not really hate, it's more like a profound disappointment and loss of trust. When you hear stories about whistleblowers like John Barnett, who worked at Boeing for 32 years and claimed that the company was deliberately fitting substandard parts to the plane,
from day one, it's just all been about schedule and hurry up and just get it done, push the planes out, we're behind schedule. You know, we don't have time to worry about issues that y'all bring up.
only for him to tragically die shortly after testifying against them, it sends shiver down your spine. These aren't just anonymous complaints, these are people who dedicated their lives to the company, now speaking out about what they see as a dangerous decline in quality and safety standards. It's a betrayal of trust that passengers, pilots, and even governments place in them. It's not just the planes themselves. Let's talk about engines for a second. You've got giants like GE and Rolls-Royce powering these massive birds. Both are incredible engineering feats, right? GE engines like the GE90 are known for their sheer power and size, often found on larger wide-body jets. Rolls-Royce, with their Trent series, often focus on efficiency and a quick three-spool design. But both have had their share of issues over the years. But the point is, these are separate entities, and while they work closely with Boeing, the recent problems seem to stem more from Boeing's internal process and aircraft's integration than from the engine manufacturers themselves. Speaking of things falling apart, let's not forget about Boeing Starliner. This was supposed to be America's next big thing in human spaceflight, alongside SpaceX Crew Dragon. NASA poured billions into this project, and who better to test it than legends like Sunita Williams? This incredible astronaut, a Navy combat helicopter pilot, a space veteran with hundreds of days in orbit and dozens of hours of spacewalks, found herself in a nightmare scenario. What was supposed to be an 8-day test flight turned into a month stranded on the International Space Station because the Starliner, well, it just was not working right. Thrusters failed, software glitches abounded, and it became a public relations disaster for Boeing. It showed that the issues weren't just limited to commercial aircraft, they were deeply embedded in their space division too. And these aren't isolated incidents. We have heard whispers and sometimes shouts about Boeing scams. From allegations of overcharging the government to cutting corners on defense contracts. The narrative of a company prioritizing profits over everything else has become hard to ignore. It's a sad turn for a company that once symbolized American ingenuity and reliability. It makes you wonder if they're willing to compromise on something as crucial as a passenger jet, what else are they compromising on? So, what's the takeaway from all this? It's not about avoiding Boeing planes altogether. They still have an incredible safety records overall, but it is about demanding accountability. It is about recognizing that when a company shifts its focus from engineering excellence to pure profit, the consequences can be dire. The story of Boeing is a cautionary tale, a reminder that trust, once lost, is incredibly hard to regain. And for the sake of everyone who stepped onto a plane, we need Boeing to find its way back to being the company we once knew and trusted. Because when it comes to flying, there's no room for compromise.